Let's talk about the economic meltdown. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a strange business. This. I think the latest situation now is that stock prices are slightly going up. Well,
Well,
we could.
as
That will
of
have been
this moment, we're
changed.
looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average in the United States. It is at 15,918, which is up 1.61%. It did start the day up over 1,000 points, but then quickly retreated. It's been trading in a narrow range. They've had to use the Rule 48 stoppage twice already today for stocks both going up
Ah,
and
right.
down because people are also buying on the bottom to try and that's forcing big profits and driving up.
Well,
But markets around the world have stabilized a
the
bit.
FTSE went down. Is it below the 6,000 mark now?
I don't
It
see
went
it
below
losing.
that.
Yeah, it's at minus 0.62% for one, so it's less than a percent drop for the day, which is not bad. Shanghai is down 1.27% for the day. The DAX is down marginally, almost a break-even day for them. The Nikkei, for some reason, is defying all logic in Japan and going up.
It's gone up.
Yeah, yeah. And as we said, the Dow is at 1.5, but the real action happens in the last hour on the Dow. So we'll see.
I mean, the thing is, they've thrown the Chinese policymakers, particularly, have thrown a kitchen sink at this, trying to. Well, they have cut interest rates. They may well have cut interest rates again by the time we go out, but they certainly cut interest rates, and they are absolutely petrified about what's happening. But I mean, the bottom line is, it's a very, very unstable system.
Yeah.
The whole thing is predicated. Well, two things really. I mean, it's predicated on kind of huge amount of getting stuff out there, which is like iron ore and coal, and it's also predicated on debt. The whole thing is a big confidence trick. Actually, the whole thing.
No, so that's right. I mean, it's funny there, Dennis. You were sort of starting off by reading out what's up and what's down, and in a sense, I think that the coverage of economics is so narrow that it really is difficult to talk about the bigger picture and this idea of what has happened post 2008 in terms of the reformation of the global economic system. And really, what's happened is nothing whatsoever. We're still kind of based. We have an economic structure that's based on kind of the abstractions of confidence and this recklessness of the sort of casino-like trading systems. I mean, you have computers trading now rather than people and making millisecond decisions based on extremely complex algorithms. So these sort of big swings up and down are beyond the control, it would seem to me, of people at the moment. And I think that we have to get into more of a conversation of what the connection is between how the growth that has come post 2008 has benefited only a very specific, i.e. the top 1% of advanced economies, whereas the notion of growth for you and I and ordinary people on the street is a very different thing entirely.
No, absolutely. And if you look at the main culprit in all this, China, things have been bad for some time and been predicted to be so. I mean, there are entire cities that were built. If you think the UK has a housing bubble, you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, the housing bubble that's going on in China, as well as the jobs bubble and everything else, there was a point at which we began to panic because growth in China dropped to 8%. And you think, okay, that's kind of crazy. But the real culprit is the fact that, while we're trying to get at least some investment in infrastructure, they went completely to the opposite end of the scales. And something like 28 trillion US dollars worth of debt out there in China from all of the projects that are underway, all the high-speed railroads and the airports and everything that's designed to make them look like a modern economy. But at the end of the day, the economy is still desperately trying to be controlled by the central government and the central committee.
But that is more and seems more and more unlikely that governments can now, or central banks can actually control what's going on in the markets. I mean, they're talking about raising interest rates again, but that's going to be postponed because of this instability. I mean, I've talked about before the idea of capitalism is based on profit and growth, but growth is a finite concept, and the profits are not benefiting everyone equally. So you're getting a hollowing out of the potential for growth. I mean, those days where growth was sort of up in the high percentages are over. So how does the economic system kind of recorrect itself so that there's some sense of stability, but also sustainability over a long period of time.
The thing is, as well, I mean, none of this really makes any difference to anybody, does it? You know, the FTSE dropping below 6,000. I mean, people want to get on with their lives, and jobs, and healthcare for their kids. You know, when I was on I presented a a radio program, right, a lunchtime radio program, and at the end of this radio program, we had an update on the FTSE, but the computer went down, and it only went down halfway through my saying. And the FTSE 100 is, and it went down. See? And the FTSE 100 is, and I made it up. And I said, is up a bit. But of course, people didn't know.
No, but it does. It is going to. Of course, it's going to matter when the FTSE collapses completely, and then the taxpayer is asked to bail out the bloody banks again after these casino operators have pissed away everything. Do you know what I mean? It's going to matter a hell of a lot. I mean, what's going to happen next time when the taxpayer has to? When last time Gordon Brown got a phone call saying there's where the banks are all going to close down, you're going to have to come out and save us all. Is that going to happen again? There's a lot of economists out there, and these are not sort of arch Marxists. They're saying that a crash that is coming that's going to make 2008 look like a minor bump.
Well, yeah, because they won't be able to get the Congress to bail them out. That will be the biggest problem. And that's the issue. I mean, it's okay if Bush comes to the Congress and says, if you don't do something right now, we're all going to die. If Obama does that to the Congress, they're going to look at him and laugh at him. So
that's a good point.
It does become a real issue.
Yeah.
I always used to laugh at this joke from I had a broker like 30 years ago in Miami. And I would always say, Manny, how'd the market do today? And his answer never varied. He says, it fluctuated. And
that's a good
great answer, because I mean, what we just saw, the up, the down, the swings of it. What do you care at the end of the day? You care what it opened at and what it closed at.
Exactly.
And if it closed at a number that's much lower than you expected it to be, then people start to panic. And that's part of the reason the market is doing what it's doing right now, is that a lot of foreign investors are panicking and rushing to dump. A lot of unsophisticated people who are worried about the value of their retirement account, their 401k in the States, their ISA here. They're very, very much read. And the one question that came up yesterday that I thought was very interesting was, imagine with all of these self-directed pensions out there now, if you were able to put your entire Social Security into the stock market, where would you be?
That's absolute insanity. I mean, this is just, again, the continued shift away from the economic system being based on anything concrete. And if you look kind of culturally, people are adapting to that. And so, say, for example, you've got things like Airbnb and Uber and these businesses that are finding ways to circumvent what a traditional business is. And that is people simply reacting to the fact that they haven't got the money to be able to invest into businesses, into what were traditionally concrete areas of investment. So, again, it's this process of kind of hollowing out. And you've got the arrival of things like Bitcoin as well. So people are trying to circumvent the economic system as we go forward.
Well, and they have been for years with things like gold and commodities and, purchasing them and hiding them away. I mean, I know people that won't even put money in a bank anymore. They'd rather bury it in their mattress or under their floorboards. And I mean, it's just insane.
I always love that. Do you remember Brass Eye? Brass Eye was a parody of a kind of news program in the UK about 20 years ago, and they had a financial reporter on Brass Eye, and it was complete gibberish. It was all about and the Dow Jones, blah 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 blah, and the Hang Seng, blah blah blah, and you couldn't understand it at all. It was all over the place. And actually, I think that's very true.
Well,
really.
If you spend 10 minutes on CNBC on cable, you'll see that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching the market open just to be prepared for today, and I'm thinking, God, this is just insane.